Let's go Dolphins! It looks like we have another signing on the table, and so the Miami Dolphins are putting their pieces together for the new season. Although it may not seem like the most eye-catching signing at first glance, it could be one of the most impactful additions to the roster. I'll tell you all the details about this and other possible signings, but first I want to hear from you. Who do you think should be cut from the team? If you think the Miami Dolphins need changes, hit the like button. But only do this if you're a true fan who never misses a single Dolphins game. Man, in my opinion, Chris Greer should be the first to be cut. But anyway, I don't know what deal Ross made with him. I hope to see our Dolphins in the playoffs this year. Now let's talk about signings. As I said, it's not a big signing at first glance, but he's someone who could give the team a boost. We're talking about punter Ryan Stonehouse. If you've been following the team's struggles on special teams, you know this was a necessary change. Miami ranked 31st in special teams last season, and Jake Bailey just wasn't cutting it. Now, with the arrival of Stonehouse, things are about to change in a big way. Stonehouse isn't just any punter, he's a record-breaking talent. In his rookie season in 2022, he took the league by storm, averaging an incredible 53.1 yards per punt, breaking an NFL record that had stood since 1940. Think about that for a second, a record that had stood for more than 8 decades, broken by this guy in his first season. He also led the league in punting yards with a total of 4,779, earned a spot on the All-Rookie team, and was named a second-team All-Pro. That's the kind of talent Miami is bringing in. Now, let's connect the dots here. Stonehouse is reuniting with his former special teams coordinator, Craig Ehrman, who joined Miami earlier this offseason. This isn't just a random signing. There's a clear plan in place. Ehrman knows exactly what Stonehouse is capable of, and their history together suggests they can restore some order to Miami's struggling punt coverage unit. Special teams play often goes under the radar, but anyone who watched the Dolphins last season knows that it was a glaring weakness. This move alone won't fix everything, but it's a massive step in the right direction. So, what does this mean for Jake Bailey? The writing is on the wall. He's out. Cutting Bailey would save Miami nearly $2 million in cap space, and with no guaranteed money left on his contract, it's essentially a no-brainer. Bailey's performance last season left a lot to be desired, despite Pro Football Focus grading him as the 7th best punter in the league. When you dig into the numbers, though, it's clear that ranking was misleading. His net punting yardage was in the bottom half of the league, and his ability to pin opponents inside the 20 was subpar. While he did have a solid hang time of 4.51 seconds, 6th in the NFL, that alone isn't enough to justify keeping him around when Stonehouse is available. Stonehouse's arrival signals a shift in Miami's approach. They aren't just filling a roster spot. They're actively trying to upgrade and improve a critical phase of the game. When you have a high-powered offense led by Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, you need a defense and special teams unit that can hold up its end of the bargain. Poor special teams play can put unnecessary pressure on the defense and force the offense into bad field position situations. Stonehouse's ability to flip the field with booming punts will be a game-changer. But Miami didn't stop at improving special teams. They've been busy across the board in free agency. Let's talk about the signings that have made headlines so far. The addition of Zach Wilson as the backup quarterback is one that has drawn mixed reactions. The former number 2 overall pick didn't live up to expectations with the Jets, but Miami is giving him a fresh start with a 1-year, $6 million deal worth up to $10 million with incentives. Here's the thing. If everything goes according to plan, Wilson won't even see the field. The goal is for Tua to stay healthy and play all 17 games. But if Wilson is called upon, he'll have an opportunity to prove he can still be a viable NFL quarterback. He's young, he has arm talent, and he'll be learning under Mike McDaniel and a strong coaching staff. This is a low-risk, high-upside move. Then there's the signing of James Daniels, which, in my opinion, is one of the best moves Miami has made this offseason. The Dolphins locked him in on a 3-year, $24 million deal, and this is a guy who fits the system perfectly. He was one of the best run blockers in 2024 before suffering a torn Achilles, but assuming he returns to form, Miami got themselves a steal. With a cap hit of just $4 million in 2025, this is the kind of smart spending Miami needed. The offensive line has been a concern for years, and adding Daniels is a step towards solidifying that group. Miami also brought in Larry Borom on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. He's not expected to be a starter, but he provides depth and versatility as a swing tackle. This move might not make headlines, but depth on the offensive line is crucial. Just ask any Dolphins fan who watched the team struggle with injuries up front last season. Moving on to the defense, Miami made a couple of intriguing moves at safety. They signed Yata Melanu and Ashton Davis, with Melanu receiving a B- grade and Davis a C+. Both will compete for depth spots, but there's still a need for a true starting caliber safety. Miami could still address that in free agency with someone like Justin Simmons or Julian Blackmon, or they might turn to the draft. If they go the draft route, names like Jalen Barron, Texas, Nick Amani, South Carolina, or Malachi Starks, Georgia, could be in play. The Dolphins need to make sure they have a reliable secondary, especially given the offenses they'll face in the AFC. At wide receiver, Miami signed Nick Westbrook-Ikine on a 2-year, $6.2 million deal, and this is a move that has flown under the radar but could be very impactful. Westbrook-Ikine is 6 feet 2 inches, 211 pounds, and he had 9 touchdowns last season. Miami's receiving core was lacking size, with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Malik Washington all being smaller, speed-based players. Westbrook-Ikine gives them a physical presence on the outside, a red zone target, and one of the best blocking wide receivers on the team. Don't be surprised if he sees a significant role in this offense. At linebacker, Miami re-signed Tyrell Dodson on a 2-year, $8.2 million deal. He played well down the stretch last season and will likely start next to Jordan Brooks. They also added KJ Britt from the Buccaneers, a solid run stopper who struggles in coverage. Britt likely won't be an every down player, but he's the type of physical linebacker Miami can use in goal line and short yardage situations. Finally, Miami signed running back Alexander Madison. The former Viking comes in as an RB3/short yardage option, but his recent struggles inside the 5-yard line are concerning. He's converted a lot of 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 opportunities, but his efficiency near the goal line has been questionable. This is a depth move, but Miami still needs a reliable short yardage back. So where does Miami's offseason stand right now? If I had to give it a grade, I'd say a solid C+. There have been smart, cost-effective signings, but there are still glaring needs at cornerback, defensive line, left guard, and safety. Miami hasn't landed a true game-changer outside of James Daniels, and that's why this free agency period feels like a mixed bag. There's still work to be done, but the offseason isn't over yet. Now, I want to hear from you, Dolphins fans. What do you think of these moves? Do you like the Ryan Stonehouse signing? Are you happy with how free agency has gone so far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's take a deeper dive into what still needs to be addressed for the Miami Dolphins this offseason. While the additions of Ryan Stonehouse, James Daniels, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, and others have filled some key gaps, there are still glaring holes on this roster that need to be fixed before the season kicks off. And the reality is, Chris Greer and this front office have some tough decisions to make if they truly want this team to be a serious contender in 2025. Let's start with the most obvious issue, the offensive line. Yes, James Daniels was a great pickup, but the Dolphins still have major concerns when it comes to protecting Tua Tagovailoa. Miami has struggled with O-line depth for years, and last season was no different. Injuries exposed the lack of quality backups, and when the starters weren't available, it became clear that Miami couldn't consistently hold up in pass protection.